Sold out of those in 4 hours. It was like a frenzy. It was crazy. Phones are ringing and people calling and dealers saying, you have XYZ, can we get them? I'm like, well, no, we're selling them to our market.
S-Class.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah. So they have just teased a new generation S-Class, and there's a lot going on from the spy shots too. So not just the official release, but the spy shots of it. So we know what the front end is going to look like, or at least close to what it's going to look like.
Yes.
It takes a lot of styling cues from the new E-Class.
Yeah.
We have seen that there's a new Maybach version, which makes sense based on this platform.
That's correct.
Have you heard anything? Did you know about this new S-Class before?
Yeah, it's been in the making, again, the S has been a very traditional car, more so, and much like the SL. So there's dramatic changes, but, the world is changing, and the only constant is change. And Mercedes-Benz truly believes that as a manufacturer, if you're not changing, you're stagnant, and you just simply die. The S-Class, I've now seen I've seen 3 different chassis now in my career. And certainly this new one is going to be very, again, I go back to high tech.
Yeah.
But it's going to stay very much to its design. And I read an article, it was some time ago, but people say, well, Mercedes styling is very staid on the outside. It's not really, it's very European, very classy, flow, form, elegant lines, nice shoulder lines. They just don't put that racy edge to it because that's where the manufacturer is. But the biggest separation between, let's say, a C, an E, an A-Class, or an E is obviously the torch headlights and such. But the S-Class on the inside is going to be very dramatic. I would tell you to our audience right now, it will be like no other Mercedes you'll ever experience, because that's where they pour their heart and soul and technology, and then it flows from there and very quickly into E, and then all the rest of the other models, including the SUVs.
Okay, so C-Class, we have seen new spy shots of what could be the new generation W206 C-Class. So we've also seen C53 spy shots, or at least what we think is going to be the C53, which takes me to 53 indicates that a car is a hybrid. It has EQ boost mixed into it. How do you feel about the new hybrid EQ platforms, 53 replacing 43? How do you feel about that?
I think it's a great thing. Fact remains is that combustion engines, they're great, they're very reliable, but they're very ubiquitous. There's only so much extraction of the power, and obviously now we're trying to reduce emissions. Yep. Certainly other companies are gone full electrification. We're moving that way with some cars, not all cars. That'll come at a later date, which we were supposed to launch, but because of the pandemic, training got halted in the USA for that one. But in terms of EQ, what we have now, people have to understand they're not actually plug-in hybrids. These are mild hybrids, so they use that 48-volt battery, integrated starter generator, beltless design engines. It's great because now you get the best of both worlds, right? You're using your 12 volt to start the car, and then you're using regenerative braking and coasting and recharge the 48 volt battery. It's smart. It's electric intelligence. It's really like when you need that power, you just punch gas at low speeds. Not when you're doing 220 and you need to get to 270. That's where V12s and V8s, AMGs are just glorious.
Yeah.
But yeah, for an average city cycler like me, that 53 series, even the 43 was wonderful. But things are going way to the dodo bird, as I say, and the 53 is smart. You're combining electric, reduced emissions, and for a consumer like yourself or myself, I don't want to plug my car in at night. I want to just get out, right?
Yeah.
Next morning, wake up, start, run my errands. I don't have to say, oh my gosh, I got anxiety.
Yeah.
Am I going to run out? Oh, I got to plan my day. Well, no, I fly by the seat of my pants some days when I got to run errands. As bad as that sounds, I think that's the truth with a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you.
So I think the C53 is going to be a wonderful vehicle. And again, when we have this conversation, when we look at this footage in many years, I think the C53 will be much like what in the mid '80s when they launched the 190 Evo. There's a great car, you know.
Yeah.
So we're really coming up with some really neat stuff now. And
Yeah.
in time, I think they'll be very iconic cars. So
Good. Yeah. And so I think you just touched on the EQ lineup.
yes.
The full electric Mercedes lineup.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting right now, we just took in a Tesla into our new inventory, or our used inventory, sorry. And so we get to experience a little bit of full electric here at the moment. And it's cool. It's a different driving experience. And like you were saying, Mercedes has an EQ lineup planned.
Yes.
Specifically, right now they have the EQC, which is on the forefront of that, which is an SUV modeled after the GLC, but full electric.
Yeah.
But they have plans for EQS, EQE, EQA, EQB. That's what people are calling it. We don't know for sure.
EQV, the
EQV,
van, which
yeah.
is out. Yeah.
That's out, yeah, in Europe.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, and like they're going full steam with full electric, and I think from a Mercedes standpoint, that's definitely a future-proof thing to do, especially with markets trending towards full electric.
Yes.
Do you like? How do you feel about full electric? Do you agree with things being electrified?
Well, you know, and again, as I said earlier in the segment, that you know there has to be change. That really is the constant. You know, so change is good, but again, I refer back to geographical regions. So when it gets to those temperatures here in Canada, in certain parts it can be where it's minus 40, minus 30 below. You know, electric vehicles just don't have the same capacity or capacitors to preserve that energy and give you the distance and length, and then you get that anxiety. Oh my gosh, like, am I going to run out of electricity? Because when you do, you can't just energize it and say, okay, let's go. We were supposed to have training in February in Huntington Beach to launch the EQC, and we set up even our AMG showroom. We put all the plugins in front. Yeah, I think there'll be certain markets, you know, I think if you live in warm climates like California, Florida, certain parts in Europe where you've got warm temperatures, yeah, I think electric has its purpose. But here, I think, again, it's going to be a combination of those select individuals to afford, that's the key word, can you afford an electric vehicle? It is a luxury. It is an individual that says, I bought an electric car and I can afford it. Mm-hmm. You know, I was in Germany August of 2017 for training with Victoria, our AMG service advisor, and we were just walking through they call it a Schloss. I'm not saying it right, but that's okay. It's the shopping complex in Stuttgart, and we ran across the Tesla dealership. This was in 17, you know. But if you had a close look, Jordan, did you notice some of the components in there, like the power window switches, the turn signals, the steering module? I don't know if you know.
Benz? Yeah.
They came to us for a lot of those components. So I think there's a place, you know, for electric cars. I'm certainly not against it, but I think it'll be a very small market share for our market, and in due time it may pick up. But the biggest, I think, holdback would be the cost of owning an electric car, and then the other thing, kind of electrical grid. I mean, I live condo style living, and there would be a chance in a million that my condo would say, yeah, we're going to electrify each parking stall. It's just not going to happen because, one, we're not set up for it, and the infrastructure would be tens of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. So
yeah,
that's kind of my take and where we are.
Right. Still a lot of room to make up, a lot of progress to make.
Yeah. I think many years.
Yep.
That's just purely comment, but yeah.
Totally. I'm excited to see where that technology heads.
Yep, I agree.
It's going to be cool. And I know Daimler, the CEO of Daimler announced that they plan on making a full electric G-Wagon.
Ooh.
That would be a crazy off-roading experience. Ooh. You would have so much torque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll pass by that.
That's in the workings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Something pretty exciting coming up. You're the AMG specialist. We have just seen the GTR Pro. We've delivered a few of those.
Yes.
Next step, and we have spy shots. It just hasn't been officially announced. Is the GT Black Series, taking after the SLS Black Series, which came after the full SLS lineup was delivered. So, we've had shots of this new GT on the tracks, like the Nürburgring, and you see the crazy styling, the giant wing, everything about it. First off, have you seen this new GT before?
No. I mean, I think there's been very few, in fact, that have been able to see, unless you're at the kind of the testing grounds in Falterbach. The Black Series is almost as unique and rare as the Project One. Maybe not quite, but I certainly will tell you, if you have an opportunity to buy a Black Series, buy it. It's kind of like certain things in life that you buy and they appreciate. And previous to the SLS Black Series, which we sold a unit out here to a very unique individual, we had the C Series Black Series, and we had brought, I think we were, I don't remember, 5 or 6 or 7 units. We sold a lot of those in 4 hours. It was like a frenzy. It was crazy. Phones are ringing and people calling and dealers saying, you have XYZ, can we get them? I'm like, well, no, we're selling them to our market. Yeah. And then, of course, the SL Black Series, which, again, I'd never seen one because we were never, wasn't availability back in those years. But this GT Black Series is going to be very unique. But again, rumors and rumblings. Don't hold me to it, but you will have to beg, steal, and thieve to get that car. So to you AMG guys, be very nice to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Insider access. What makes a Black Series so special?
It is basically the next level to a Formula One car. They lighten up the car considerably. On the SLS, I just kind of recoil here and I think they shave like from a normal SLS. They shave like 150 some pounds in and around there. I mean, to shave that amount of weight off a car, right? You really have to do some really trick engineering with chassis, components, things like even. Does it need all of the soft close doors and all the electronics? So anything they can cut to make this car just a little bit, a tenth or 3/10 of a second quicker, whatever it takes, they will do it. Certainly, again, I think I saw 711 horsepower.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, something like that. And I'm just wondering if it's by coincidence, the Green Hell GT, didn't it go on the Nürburgring at 711?
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So I'm wondering if you guys back in the Falterbach are doing some number playing, but anyways, yeah. I want that car. But of course, Department of Transportation, Canadian government, said,